Welcome to Papa Junk Shop. I'm changing my house system. I like my PowMr that I use in the garage so much I'm getting one for the house and switching to 24 volts from 12, so I had to get another battery. I had a Zooms 100 amp per hour and they changed their name, and I sent them an email, asked them, you know, if they changed things and if it would be compatible with the other battery, and they said yes, that it would. So apparently they didn't like their name or something, I don't know, but they renamed it Redodo, I guess. I think that's how you say it. I don't know. I'm not sure it's much of an improvement over the other name, but seems to be a good battery, so it doesn't matter what they call it. So we got a little pamphlet here. And you know, you've seen me do these things before, so looks like pretty much all the same good information. Inverter settings. How to do the series and parallel connections. Voltage and capacity, give you a rough idea. Some information on the charging, and the specifications. Looks like they've improved the book some. This is probably a guide for beginners. No, I'm not beginning anymore. Tear me off, here's your post bolts. Oh, okay. So there's the post bolts. And we've got the usual good packing. Everything looks fine. So, take the caps off, show the voltmeter on her, see what we got. You see that? $13.16. First thing I'm going to do is put a good charge on her with a lithium battery charger. And let's see, our first charge we'll use the middle of the road here. I think it's 10 amps. Oops. Better get those. Already I've lost them. There they are. We'll get these on there. Come on out of there. Got this charger. Haven't given it back to the guy yet. Guess I've been tightening that up a little. Okay, let's see. Give her a minute to settle. .8 amps, 6.2 amps, it's ramping up. Now my hybrid inverter, I ordered a couple days before I ordered this battery. They both come from California. This one came UPS. The other one came UPS till it got to Pennsylvania, and then they give it to the post office. Why in God's name would they do that? And it's been at a post office down near Pittsburgh for 6 days. And nobody can tell me anything about it except that that's where it is, and that's why it's been there for 6 days. So that's a really nice explanation, just like everything else the government's involved in. Okay, I've had my rant. Gonna give this a good charge and give my other one the same good charge, and then I'll put them in parallel, and then I'll stick the charger on them again and leave them overnight in parallel, and then we'll hook them up in series onto the new unit when it gets here, if it ever does. So we'll see you in the next portion here. Who knows, maybe tomorrow or maybe next week. Now, after waiting almost a month, the new hybrid inverter is finally here. The first one I ordered was about 20 bucks cheaper, but it wasn't from PowMr. Thought I could save 20 bucks, but it never got here. They got as far as Pittsburgh and got, so they say, lost at the post office. So I had to wait for the usual waiting period and all that stuff, and eBay was real good. I mean, I told them I wanted to, they offered me a reship or a refund, and I says, give me the refund, because the reship, if you use the same shipping procedures, might wind up the same way. So I just went ahead and got it from PowMr. So it's finally here. And the reason that I'm replacing this is that Kit's got us a new coffee pot for Christmas, and it uses 1500 watts, and with a 12-volt system, one battery, it's good for 1200 watts, and that's pushing it. And I have another reason too. My what is it, CNSWI power inverter, which has been there for a year, run 24/7. It's worked flawlessly, but it's 12 volts, and I need a nice sine wave inverter for the camper. So that one's going in the camper. This new 3000 watt is going on the wall, and going to 24 volts, 2 batteries. So I'll be able to run the coffee pot now. So let's get her unpacked. Alright, there she is. Physically a little bit smaller than my one in the garage. Input breaker, AC output, AC input, communications port, dry contact for generator start, I believe, probably. The battery input. PB input up here, power switch. So, I'm going to get this removed. I have a new one to replace it. And I'm going to do a little change here. And this is supposed to be mounted on something fireproof, so I have some cement board which I'm going to place there. So, I'm sure you guys don't want to see that. So, I'm going to go ahead and do that, and I'll show you when I'm further along. There's the user manual and a communications cable. So, see you in a bit. Okay, my Zoom's battery was the one that was running my 12 volt, and I wanted to order another one, but they changed their name to Redodo, something like that. And I sent them an email before I ordered it and asked them if it was going to be compatible and able to be paralleled and seried with the Zoom's battery, and they said it was. So they were both charged up full, but I'm putting them in parallel and going to leave them set with my NOCO charger on them while I'm doing the rest of this installation over here, so that they're both at equal. Okay, got that cement board stuff mounted, got the inverter mounted, got my box for my meter mounted, and I've got a couple of fuses. Now my other inverter is the same 3 kW, 2400 watt, whatever you want to call it. And that calls for 150 amp fuses, so I don't have any hundreds, so I guess I'll have to order some. This says 100 amp. Right, someplace that said it. Right here, right up on the bottom. 3 kVA 100 amp, 2 kVA 66 amp. So that seems a little strange. But I got my disconnect here, and both sides are fused. It's 2-aught welding cable, and I really had a time getting them fit in there. They just barely fit. Matter of fact, I had to sand the edge just a little to get them to go through, but I think we're good. So the batteries, it was about 10 minutes and this thing said that it was done charging, so they were both already equaled, I guess. So I'm going to take that off and get them hooked in series and get it hooked up, and we'll turn her around and see if she makes juice before we hook anything else up. Okay, got the battery all hooked up. Okay, the negative comes from one side of the shunt down here to the negative side of the battery and into the negative, and then the positive comes from the positive side of the battery. Switch, disconnect, fuse into the positive. I'm going to use a resistor to pre-charge it. I don't know why. I've done it for years without doing this, but everybody seems to think they blow their capacitors up. I've done it probably hundreds or thousands of times and I never blew one up yet. Is anybody else? Really? So we'll go ahead and do this thing. Okay, so that should have pre-charged it. We'll turn her around. Okay, we didn't get any smoke or nothing, that's a good sign. We'll flippy to switchy. Well, it says 119 volts. I don't know why they advertise 120 when they don't do 120. It's kind of irritating. The fan cycled on and shut off. I'll move you guys closer. Hopefully you'll be able to see the screen. So that's what we got so far. So now that we know that it does fire up and work, go ahead and hook the other stuff up. Got the AC output hooked up, and it goes up here to this new box with this multi-function digital meter. Comes out of there, goes over here to my inverter panel, which is completely separate, not connected to the grid in any way. And this is just used to tie the two lugs together because everything is 120 volts in here. And I'm using this 20 amp breaker for the main disconnect. So this is the breaker that'll protect the output of this. Instead of having a separate one down here, I'll just use it in here. So let's fire it up. Okay, so it says we got 119 volts there, and up here it says 120, and I hooked this up so that it even shows the power that this meter is using. So apparently this thing uses 0.3 watts. Okay, so I'm going to flip this main breaker on over here in this panel, and there's always one light that comes on. It's a LED floor lamp that whenever the power goes out it defaults to the on position, so we should have a little bit of draw. Yep. And I would guess that somebody turned the kitchen lights on too and there wasn't any juice there. Didn't turn it back off because that's a little bit much for that lamp. So looks like we're operational. So now the AC input I'm going to use as a generator hookup so that when I run my generator this can run, charge the batteries and run the stuff. And that will come from that panel over there, and I still have to get the solar hooked up. Now the solar is going to be 400 watts and going into here, and this is PWM, and I've got an MPPT EP ever set up here. So this will, I'm going to make this so this does most of the work. That way it'll keep these fans quieter. If it's like the one in the garage, the solar actually makes the fans run on a higher speed than if you're just running the inverter part. So I'm going to go ahead and get some solar hooked up. Well, I got the solar hooked up. This is where it comes in. Got a disconnect switch, a couple of fuses, and it goes up into the PV connections. And this is number 6 or 8, I'm not sure which, but boy, it just barely fits in there. I had to go out and reconfigure my panels. These are 4 100 watt panels, so I had to put 2 in series and then them in parallel. And it's starting to sprinkle out, so I don't think we're going to see much in the line of juice. Now we got the picture of the solar panel right away. Not sure if you're going to be able to see it, especially if I don't point the camera at it, huh? Okay, let's see. Yep. PV input 26 volts, so yeah, doesn't look like we're going to get anything, does it? because the batteries are at 26.8. So that's not a good thing. I haven't reset any of this stuff, so let's see what the UPF's doing. No, we got 1.3 amps from those 4 panels. 26.7 volts. 1.5 amps. So the good old EPFer is charging. This one isn't. I'm going to take you off this tripod. Let's see. Run through some of these. PV's at 26 volts. Battery 0 amps. 26.7 volts for the battery. So I haven't set any of these up, I just turned them on, so. Says the PV is 0 volts. I don't think so. Shows it's not there anymore. Doesn't make any sense. Let me do a little checking. Okay, it was my bad. I thought that when this was that way, it was on. It's not. I turned it off. So now it says we got 31 volts on the solar. Like I say, it's sprinkling out, so we're not going to say much. Anything, I guess. Nope. Well, I got everything hooked up and it's working. So we'll give her an overnight and in the morning trial and see how she does. You know, ran overnight, no problems. And I'm going to try out the thing on the new coffee maker. You'll be able to see the output up here, and I've got this set so you can see the battery voltage and the battery amperage. Right now it's only using 1 amp because I've only got about 12 watt load on it. So I'm going to go ahead and turn on the coffee pot. And that's about the first time I've heard the fan come on that amounted to anything. 1,390 watts. 47 amps from the battery. And we're still at 119.7 volts. You can feel the air. When that gets done making that cup of coffee, we'll see how long the fan runs. Okay, just dropped back off to 13 watts. Back down to 1 amp here. just a little warm. Well, you guys don't want to watch and wait for that fan. I'll let you know how it does. Yeah, that fan ran for maybe another minute. So it looks like she's going to do okay as far as getting coffee in the morning. So I'll put this back to... I usually like to see what the solar panel's doing. Right now the sun is not doing enough to bother. I think the EP ever says 0.6 amps or something. Like I say, sun's just getting up and the panels are actually in the shade of a tree at the moment. So now it's a little after noon. The batteries are full and I want to try something. I have a little 250 watt heater hooked up. I want to see if this shows the amperage. I think that's just what's going into the battery, not what you're actually using. So see which one, see if the EP ever takes up the slack or whether this one does. Okay, just turned it on. Okay, so the fan just come on lightly. And up here we're showing what, 300 watts roughly. Give it a minute or so. Let's look at the EP hour. Battery 0 amps. Okay. PV's at 39 volts, so it's not charging anything. Okay. I'm going to turn that heater off and see if it shows amperage going to the battery. Yep, as soon as I turned it off. So it's replenishing what we used. So, okay, things seem to be working well. So I think at this point I'm going to call this one a video. And if you enjoyed it, give me a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, please do. Thanks for watching. See you next time.